have some question about the lecture, about the semester project, you can ask now. How are you today? Okay. So the deadline, someone asked the question, what is the deadline of the project? I told you about the deadline of the project submission is before the final exam. Before the final exam, about 1 week. Then the specific day, I will inform you after I get the information about the exam date from the division. So that is the deadline. So where are you with the semester project? Halfway, good. So you have the format, you have the guidance, and if any question that you might have, you discuss among your group. And if anything that you cannot answer, you can ask me. Okay. So we today we are going with chapter 9. Chapter 9 is about supplier selection and negotiation. Another question is, when do we need to present it? That is the good question. I will inform you after I discuss with Dr. Herb, because the number of groups is quite many. And either we can do it all, or we can do it half, or we can do it somehow. I will inform you after I align with Dr. Herb. Okay? But the submission is 1 week before the final exam. Clear? So today we will go with chapter 9. Chapter 9 is about supplier selection and negotiation. In fact, I have talked about that in Chapter 8, okay, evaluation and selection. And today, I will repeat it again in further detail of supplier selection and another tactics, very important tactic for procurement that in negotiation. How can you get the best deal after the negotiation? And what can you prepare before you go to the negotiation? So the agenda today that we are going through that is the supplier evaluation and the method of evaluation and the negotiation, like I said. We will go deeper and deeper how we can get the best deal. You see the screen? Supplier evaluation. In order to select the supplier or to complete the evaluation of the supplier, we should understand the characteristic of a good supplier. How supplier is good and how good is good. Number one, a good supplier that we are doing the evaluation from them, that is, if they can deliver on the request, your request as a buyer in full on time. And the short term that we normally use, that is DIFOT. DIFOT stands for delivery in full on time. DIFOT is a characteristic of a good supplier. If a supplier, they can deliver your request in full meaning that they have complete on the request and on time, important. That's they have to deliver it on time. And deliver in full on time are the good quality and in quantity specified, in quantity you requested. Number two of a good supplier, that is whether the supplier, they can deliver your good at the fair price. Fair price, meaning that the price in the market. And they deliver with the good services and responsiveness. And they continue in service that they are offer to you. So those are the good characteristics of supplier. The supplier pre-qualification criteria that we are going around and around and around, then what is the qualification of a supplier? And in order to do it, to have to do the screening. And I repeat it again, some of pre-qualification supplier criteria that we might want to look at again before we send the RFP to them. That is the company, the financial stability, their management capability, and the location, the geographic location of the company, and what is the product that they are going to offer you, at what price, and the service, whether they delivery on time, condition of arrival of the delivery, and their technical support, after sales support, and the training that they might want to offer to you. So those are the criteria of the supplier. You do the pre-qualification before you send the RFP to them. Selection criteria of the supplier, I repeat it again, sometimes the cost driven, the schedule driven, the quality driven, or the services driven. So depends on the good and the service that we want the supplier to offer. And you define the criteria driven for your selection. So not every project, not every request are the same. So you have to align those criteria with your team member. Supplier evaluation method. Evaluating supplier offer, whether they had the cost driven, and the cost driven here, you have to consider the total cost of ownership. And we will learn about what are the difference between the price and the cost, and between the cost and the total cost of ownership. We will learn about that. What are the weighted scoring? What are the criteria, and how are we how will we do the evaluation process? So everything that we are doing to evaluate the supplier offer, you have learned based on what are you define the scope of work, you define the criteria, you define the weighted scoring, and you do the evaluation at the end. But after you do the total cost, total best value, then you meet with management to do the final adjustment. Here are some way to show you how you do the evaluation based on the lowest pricing. The supplier offer are tested for compliance against the minimum requirement. And normally the minimum requirement, those are specification, the schedule, whether on the offer from the supplier, they meet the specification and they meet the schedule. And those are the minimum requirement. Beside the specification and delivery, what are the price? And here in the table show you, example, you have a supplier A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. And this is the criteria that you do the pre-qualification to them, whether on the supplier are registered, and whether they meet the minimum requirement of the good service that you are requesting, based on the specification, based on the delivery schedule, and what are the price that they are offering. And based on the result you get from the quotation of the supplier that you see, supplier A cannot offer, B, C they can offer, but D, E they cannot offer, and F they offer. And among the three suppliers, B, C, and F, the offer that F is the lowest price. But price is not the only factor that we consider, that we select, because at the end of the day, your company have to pay for the total cost of ownership, and total cost of ownership, supplier again tested for compliance against the certain minimum requirement. And if they meet or they assist these criteria, they are evaluating on the basic of total cost of ownership resulting from the offer only. Okay. But the total cost of ownership is more than that, more than the price that you buy at the very beginning. Total cost of ownership, including the buying cost, meaning the purchase cost. But after that, the operating cost, how much you are going to pay for the operation, and what are the preventive maintenance costs that you have to prepare for those equipment, good or service that you buy. What about the repair cost? What about the cost of disposal? And what about the capital cost? And include other costs such as insurance, speed, capacity, design, operation, maintenance, etc. Everything, it makes the total cost of ownership component. Sometimes you buy at the low price, but then have you pay extra and big amount for the preventive maintenance cost. Or you may, if you buy at the low price, but then the insurance for the thing that you buy may low, but the preventive maintenance, you have to replace many times, you have to do the change so often, or even it's easy to be obsolete. So the total cost as a buyer, when you buy things, good or service, you have to think about the total cost of ownership, because that is what your company will pay at the end of the day. Number two, that is quantifying it cost. Okay, so when you do the breakdown, that you have to consider several elements, several components before you consider who is the supplier that you will select. This shows you an example. The breakdown of total cost of ownership, a heavy electric motor. And this shows you a percentage of how much that you are going to spend for the purchase price. Electricity, maintenance cost, and disposal. And the data you have here on your slide show you the total cost of each ownership of an HV electric motor. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, the purchase price at the very beginning is 50,000 US dollar, in which the other spending is for the electricity for that equipment. It is $30,000 for year 1 and maintenance is about 5,000. And the similar data you have here for year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And this shows you the total cost of ownership of HV electric motor over the years. Another example that a time value of cost. Although the sum of on cost of the two offers are similar, one offer might involve higher cost in early years, while the other might involve higher cost at the later years. And this show you some supplier may give you the lower price at the very beginning, but they spend more in the later year. And sometimes some supplier provide you, if you purchase right, may be higher, but then you spend less at the later year. And as a buyer, you have to consider the total cost of ownership over the year of the good or the service you are buying before you come to the final selection. And this shows you the time value of cost over the year. This table gives you some example of a cost of supplier taking the interest payment into account. So example that you have supplier X that can provide you at the very beginning, they have year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 4, okay? And you split the cost, how much year 1? That supplier, you have to pay for that supplier. How much the interest payment associated with year 1, you have to pay for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. That's for the interest. And how much you have to pay for year 2 to the supplier X? Mostly it's remain the interest pay. And this show you how much you are going to pay for the interest in year 3 and in year 4. So in total, if you consider to buy the thing from supplier X, you have to pay for the purchase cost at the very beginning, and you pay for the interest year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. And at the end of year 4, you had the total cost. You sum it all year, that is 124,201. That is the total cost of ownership that you pay for supplier X. Similarly, you do the analysis for supplier Y. Okay? And for supplier Y, you pay at the very beginning 80,000 in US dollar. But then in year 1, you pay for the interest. 2 year, 3 year, 4, you pay for the interest of the rest of the year. And you do the thing similarly. You have the total cost that you pay for the supplier Y is $129,151. And based on that, you consider either you choose supplier X or you choose supplier Y. Any questions so far? Normally, in reality, this is the task that you often do in your job. If you select supplier that you are going to buy, it's not only the purchase price at the very beginning, that you have to think about the total cost that you spend for that much at the end. Any questions so far for this? You do the analysis over the year, include the total cost of purchase, and in this sheet, it's not give you the data for operation cost. It's not give you the most data of other things that you are going to spend. But it gives you the example that you can easily to add in if you have it in your job. Weighted scoring method, I talked about that last week in total best value. Weighted scoring method is a way to weight importance of criteria that you are setting in your project. So the performance equal to the capability multiplied with motivation. What does it mean for that? Anyone can help. Anyone can tell me. When you evaluate supplier ability to supply your company, you think about their capability and the motivation behind the offer. And if you want to evaluate the capability of a supplier, you have to think of the motivation behind their offer. Example, if a company, they offer you a very good price, that's because of they think about the future. They think about the opportunity in the future they want to have with your company. That we call the motivation. With each commitment from the supplier, we have to evaluate the interest the motivation of the supplier behind that commitment. This gives you another example of total cost value, total best value. In this example, it gives you a way to measuring the equipment buying. Which equipment from who you will buy is the best for your company. It depends on you identify the criteria. Of course, you identify the scope of work first, but then you define the criteria and then you align the weighting factor, okay? In this example, this is the equipment that you are going to buy from supplier A, supplier B, supplier C. Those are the three suppliers that they offer you the quotation based on the 6 criteria that you are defining. Criteria number 1, that is technical performance. Technical performance measuring precision, okay? The weighting factor, 10. And the product reliability, that is criteria number 2. The product reliability, there is some the specification that they define, and the low MTBF, the reliability of the equipment, they gave the scoring a 3 and 4. And the lead time to delivery, the weighting factor is 3. Availability of spare part, it's important if you buy an equipment, how cheap it is, but if they don't have the spare, then you might face with the problem, no spare part later. That's why if you buy equipment, you have to think about the availability of the spare. Technical support, it is another criteria. In this case, technical support depends on the installation and commissioning. Most of the time, if we buy equipment that you need the support on installation and you need the support from testing and commissioning, and then training and develop capability of the operator later on. In that case, the weighting factor that you define is 5. If you buy some equipment and you always face with the responsive time of the issue, if any issue happen during the operation, what are the responsiveness, maintenance, and repair? So the weighting factor here, you score 10. Of course, life cycle cost, the price you pay at the very beginning, you pay 30, and then spare part cost is 20. All the total weighting factor here is, you sum it up, is 100. But then you do the scoring for each criteria from supplier A, supplier B, supplier C, and you multiply the weighting factor, and with the scoring, you come to the total scoring here. And after that, you sum it up. In this case, you see that the weighting factor, A, total factor from supplier A total scoring from supplier B, total scoring from supplier C, and you see the total weighted scoring, you know, who is the supplier that you will select. In this case, anyone can tell me who is the supplier that you will select? You have a total weighted scoring after you do all the evaluation, and then you will define who is the best supplier in your case. Yes. Okay. When to use the weighting scoring approach? Okay. If you have to buy the things and you are very clear about the driving force, whether the cost is dominant or the schedule is dominant or the service is dominant, you define the total scoring. But if you are very clear about cost is the predominant, okay, go for whoever a supplier can offer you the lowest cost. But in the more complicated project or equipment or the line or anything that you want to buy, and the cost is not dominant in the consideration, and where the total requirement is not known and where it is therefore it's not possible for a supplier to quote the accurate price, then you use the total weighted scoring approach. It does say that the price or the cost is not considered in the evaluation. It is just the weighted factor among all the other factors. Price is cost is not the only criteria that you will base on the selection. Okay? This compare the weighted non-cost aspect of an offer against the cost of the offer. And the cost can be either the purchase price or the total cost of ownership. At the end, the score are compared with the cost to just the combination represent the best value. So in this slide, it does say that you have to consider all the factors, including cost and non-cost, and to present to the team for alignment for supplier selection. To align on the total best value. What we do in the total cost or total scoring, and we show them the data, okay, from the quotation, from the clarification of the supplier, when the discussion from the pre-qualification, because all of those jobs procurement did. Not everyone. Everyone have the job to present, to share with the team what you have done. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay, if not, we go to a very interesting part, every interesting part in procurement, that is negotiation. And you know, negotiation is a skill that everyone have. Everyone have the negotiation. If you want to buy something, you all want to buy with the cheapest price. Okay. And if you are on the sales side, you want to sell the thing with the highest price. And how we mix between the seller and the buyer, it comes to negotiation between the seller and the buyer. And negotiation is something that you do for whole your life. Everywhere you do it, either you aware it or not. It's not because of you are learning procurement and you learn about negotiation. No, it's everywhere, every place that you do the negotiation. You know why? It is not just only the price. Okay? You negotiation with your friend to agree on which part that you are taking place in the semester project. That we also negotiation. You negotiation with your boyfriend, girlfriend, where you are going to go to the movie. That also the negotiation. Right? So all I mean in this case is negotiation is a skill that you do every day. But in the topic that we are learning today is the negotiation in business. How you are going to reach the agreement after the negotiation, so you get the deal done and you can make a contract with your supplier or your buyer or your seller for a company business. So what is the negotiation? Look at this. Negotiation is the process, the negotiation is process that two or more parties discuss in the common interest and contradiction or conflict on a gap to reach a certain agreement. So negotiation at the end of the day is two or more than party come to talk about their common interest to reach agreement. That is the end goal of a negotiation. If a negotiation, everyone come to party and they make argument and they walk away, it's not a good negotiation. Good negotiation is at the end of the day, party come to the agreement. If you look at this, you will see. Yes, they save our margin a little, but they sign a contract. At the end of the day, they sign a contract. Negotiation is a process, no doubt, where my two parties with different view initially attempt to reach agreement on a common objective by a selective use of a different method of persuasion. So everyone they come to the negotiation and they try to speak out anything that conflict, they resolve the solution and they come to the common goal, common objective by they try to persuade, they try to convince the other party. And people are born not good negotiator. I told you, negotiation in everyone, everything we do. However, they are born as a good, not a good negotiator. In order to be a good negotiator, you have to learn. And the topic today tell you how to be a good negotiator. Negotiation is a skill that can be learned and can be developed. And good negotiation skill can mean the difference between success and the failure. Believe me, if you learn and you are the good negotiator, you will be very successful in your life. You negotiate with your parents. You you do the negotiation with your brother and sister, with your friend, with your teacher, with your business partner, etc. So if you are a good negotiator, you have a good chance to be successful. I gave the supply model again and again because I know that it's important at the supply chain. You have to analyze and you have to identify among your supplier, among the things that you are going to buy for your company, who belong to what in this quadrant, okay? They are routine, or they are leverage, they are bottleneck, or they are critical. Because each quarter, you have a different strategy to deal with them, okay? If you deal with the supplier in the routine quadrant, oh, very easy. Because if you don't buy from this supplier, X supplier, you can buy from Y, from Z, from etc. And if you are dealing with the supplier in this quadrant, you know that you have to leverage them. Bottleneck, critical, again, each supplier in each supply model, you have different strategy. They are special, okay? Now, I told you that each supplier in the supply model, you have different strategy. This shows you a little bit, okay, how different from the spot purchase unto the joint venture, okay? Why spot purchase and why joint venture? For spot purchase, you do spot buy. Every time you do the spot buy, you no need to plan, okay? Because you can find several different supplier and different offer in the market. And you define whether the spot purchase, whether regular trading, whether the call-off contract, whether fixed contract, partnership contract, or joint venture. Depends on how important of the relationship between the supplier of the thing you buy with your current situation. For spot purchase and regular trading here, just pay only on contract and no personal relationship, strong use of tactics employed and price-oriented, short-term and supplier performance measure on the basis of non-compliance. For the call-off contract and the fixed contract, you trust based on the contract on the supplier competence. Limited personal relationship, strong use of bargaining, price and service oriented, and medium term and supplier performance measured on the basis of non-compliance and through supplier evaluation. For the supplier in bottleneck and critical, you use partnership and joint venture. You have the good partnership with those supplier in bottleneck and critical. Sometimes that you have to establish the joint venture with them, especially for the critical supplier. Because if without them, your business will die. Example. And in this, you have the trust-based cooperation, and they had a strong personal relationship. They have a strong emphasis of total cost of ownership oriented, and they have the long-term relationship, and buyer and supplier organization measure other performance based on the jointly developed remedial action. So like I said, it depends on the supply model. You define the relationship, and from the defined relationship, which kind of contract you are going to establish with your business partner. You define here the important, okay? From the spot purchase, regular trading, call-up contract, fixed contract, partnership, and joint venture. So it depends on the relationship and how important of a supplier to your business. Any questions so far before we go to the next step? Okay. So there is the process. This shows you the process of negotiation. Like I said, everyone is born as a negotiator. But in order to be a good negotiator, you have to learn about negotiation process. And in order to be a good negotiator, at the very first thing is you have to be ready yourself, meaning that you understand fully what you need. You understand fully what you are going to buy, either that is the good or the services. Number two, you explore the other need, the need from your party, the need from your supplier and signal for movement and drop for your proposal, exchange your concession, close the deal, and tie up the loose end. We go step by step for the negotiation process. But at least you understand the overall. We let us start, and then we explore, and then we exchange, and then we close the deal, or we tie up any loose end. That is the negotiation process overall. Okay, so in a summary, we have four steps of negotiation process, and we are going through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Step 1 is preparing for your strategy. Understand your needs, prepare what you are going to talk, how you are going to talk. Okay. Step 2 is exchange the information. We share what we need. We understand what the other side needs, and then how we can bridge the gap. Step 3, that is we open and we make the deal. We open and we make the deal. And then step 4 is closing and gaining the commitment. Remember, a negotiation is successful when we can make the deal at the end. Regardless how good we are, but if both parties cannot agree to come to the agreement, a contract cannot consider as a good negotiation. Sometimes, even though it walk away, it's a good negotiation as well. They walk away, but then they understand, and then they come back again. So closing and gaining the commitment is the end of a negotiation. Now, this shows you how you are going to prepare for a negotiation. You start with your own. Understand your company objective strategy. You understand what we are, going to buy. You understand your component, your opponent, and you develop a negotiation strategy and tactics. The preparation, if you look at here, you define your range. Where do you start, and what is the target? What is the goal? What is the objective you will gain at the end? Sometimes if you don't come to the agreement and you walk away, but in order to be a good negotiator, you should prepare for your alternative. Prepare your alternative. That means if you don't go with supply X, you can go with supply Y, you can go with supply Z, you can go with whoever, okay? The most difficulty is you have no choice. You have no choice, no way of negotiation, then no way that you can go with some other supplier, then you have to come back with the negotiation with the only sole source. And in that case, you have to establish the good relationship with those suppliers if you don't have the alternative. So in step 1, it is the preparation. What we can prepare to be a good negotiation. What do you need for good preparation? You understand your company objective strategy. Of course, you have to understand it. If you don't have the good understanding of your own company, you are standing on vacuum. You don't have a good foundation to stand on. So you have to understand your opponent and the target and the goal, what you want to achieve out of the negotiation. What is the smart? What is the ZOPRA? Have you heard the term of ZOPRA? ZOPRA stands for Zone of Possible Agreement. That is the negotiation zone, where you can move around a negotiation. And what is the BATNA? BATNA stands for Best Alternative to Agreement, to the negotiation agreement. That is BATNA. BATNA is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So you list down all you can do if you cannot achieve the point that you want to make it. And you have to explore the best alternative, you try to improve it, and finally, which is the best option you might want to have. So all of what you need to prepare to have the good plan for negotiation. Okay, that is, we call that understanding from your own, understanding from our side. And this gives you an overall picture. Sometimes if we are the negotiator, we do the negotiation, but we don't understand the full picture of your company. Difficult for you to be in the position. Of course, when you start with the purchasing job, no one can want to give you a big job. So you start with the small thing first, okay? But regardless, you do the small thing or you do the big thing, you understand here, the company objective, the corporate objective, okay? But then your objective of a function as a purchasing function and your negotiation objective amongst here, small one, okay? But you understand the big picture give you more power in the negotiation objective to meet the objective of your purchasing function and your individual as the purchaser. Before you do the negotiation, you should understand what is the problem to be solved. The problem to be solved, that could be, okay, the price too high. The problem to be solved could be, okay, they are too late. They cannot meet the deadline. The problem to be solved could be, okay, a personal problem. Then this gives you the understanding the overall picture and the individual picture. You define the option, the variable, and you come to, in your mind, what is the best case and what is the worst case. And one thing I learned from the whole my life is never start a negotiation before you set the target of each of negotiation variable. So as simple as that, know what you want. Know what you want is a start of a success negotiation. Okay, first, understanding yourself. Know what you want. Now, the second, understanding your opponent. Meaning that we have to put ourselves in the opponent's shoe and ask why. Okay, identify the opponent objective. What do you need? What is the limit? And what is the priority? So there is the process. What do you know about my opponent? What do you know about the person he represents? What are the negotiating style of the other party, etc. So what is the common interest? What is opposing interest? And what the standard used to resolve the conflict ideal? So this, not everything, but at least it gives you some guidelines about understanding your opponent. Understand yourself and understand the others. Understand your interest and understand the other party interest and what is the common goal. How to resolve the conflict ideal. After we understand your need, understand your opponent, and we develop a negotiation strategy and tactics. Your own negotiation objective, the position, possible interest of the other side, and it comes to the negotiation strategy and the relative strength and weakness of both sides. Okay. So a successful negotiation is understanding your side and the other side and come to the common interest. Any questions so far? For understanding yourself and your understanding opponent before we setting a target. And this is a target to set for a negotiation. A smart example. Hello? Em cứ gõ ra cửa đi. Có người dưới. Okay. So it is the example for setting a target up where we define the a strategy and the tactics. And the example here is of you quality, deliveries, price, and payment term. An example. Hello? 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 So we specific about quality. In that case, the best target is specification as given in our inquiry. Any reject to be replaced within 24 hours. That is the best case. And in the worst case, accept the deviation from the defined tolerance with more than plus or minus 2 centimeters and reject to be replaced within 3 days. That is the worst case. Delivery within 5 days. That's the best target. And the worst case acceptable is no more than 10 days. Between 5 days to 10 days is okay. Okay. The price as low as 4.5 per unit. And the worst case is no more than 4.7 per unit. Payment term is the open account. Worst case, that is the letter of credit. And the best case of payment term is supplier credit within 3 months. And worst case is payment term made within 30 days. This is the preparation, the best target and the worst target acceptable. Okay. This gives you an example for negotiation between the best and the worst, because you don't know from where to where that you can reach agreement with the supplier. Hello? Chị nghe giao đi, chị đang bận lắm. Any question regarding the setting the SMART example for the target of negotiation? No, if not, then we develop the win-win whereas the win-lose. A negotiation is called successful when both parties win. Okay? What does it mean for the win-win versus the win-lose? In this case, win-win, it shows us the collaboration between the buyer and the seller. Okay? It varies the competition. The win-win negotiation is based on the mutual interest and the common goal. So we understand ourselves and we understand the other. It's not the adversarial attitude and the confrontation. And the win-win negotiation resume the flexibility, whereas the inflexibility. Joy problem solving, whereas the greater possibility and conflicts. And the win-win relationship result in both parties achieving the agreement which meet their objective. So we understand ourselves and we understand the other party. Whereas the win-lose is one side beating the other. And the win-win relationship is appropriate for long-term contract, repetitive deal, and cooperative supplier. It's not the one shop short-term deal, and adversarial supplier. So we have to establish the win-win relationship, because if you want to have the long-term relationship with the supplier, if you want the long-term deal, the repetitive deal with the supplier, we have to think about the win-win. Okay? This gives you the idea of determining the negotiation zone. Like we said, if we are the buyer, we want to buy the thing with the lowest price. If we are the seller, then we want to sell with the highest possible price. So there is a conflict between the seller and the buyer. So this shows you the seller rent. And this shows you the buyer rent. If we pay the seller below this price, the seller will walk away. They will not sell it to you. Okay? And if you cannot buy the good and the service at this price, and the buyer, you walk away. Okay? So this is the room. This is the room of negotiation. This is the room of negotiable. Okay? It's called that ZOBA, zone of possible agreement. So if you are a good buyer, you buy it somewhere here. Okay? If you are a good seller, you sell it somewhere here. So this is the zone that will show you the competency where that you can reach agreement. This is. So this is the room for you to show up your competency, your company. You see it interesting? The seller also do negotiation. The buyer also do negotiation, and how you can reach the agreement in between. This defines you the negotiation zone, but how you define it, it's another matter. Okay? Negotiation zone, negotiable zone, example. Example. The company target, you want to buy the thing, okay? So the target, if you go by $10, you as a buyer, you are happy. If you buy it at $15, oh, you are not happy, okay? You're disappointed. And, sorry. As the seller, if you can sell it with the price 11 euro, you are not happy. But if you buy it with if you sell it with higher price, that you are happy. So this become from between 11 to 15. It is negotiable zone. You can buy it with 11, or you can buy it at 15. They can sell it at 12 or 13 or 14, etc. It depends on the result of negotiation that you are making. Negotiation result. In order to come to the negotiation result, you have to understand, if we put in the negotiation, you understand what is the component of the product or the service that you are going to negotiate with your supplier. Okay? So in another previous slide, I show you the percentage of how much is the material purchase, how much is the labor, how much the profit, how much the overhead, etc. So this is, you understand, before the saving achieved through the better negotiation. After you come to the negotiation and you come to purchase material, it's for 54%. Labor cost is 15%. Overhead is still 15%. And of course, the profit increased from 10 to 16% because of the purchase material here is reduced in going to the profit. Overhead and labor, it remain the same. So this is the structure that we have during the preparation. Now, after the step 1, we come to the step 2. Step 2 is the exchange information. Now we come to the negotiation. We come to the meeting. We say, hello, keep opening atmosphere. We come to the meeting with the supplier for the negotiation. Okay, after we prepare in the office, we at home, and we come to the exchange information for the meeting. We keep efficient communication, and we keep body language, the motion, the tone, and sometimes we have to use the tactics of effective silence. Because if you are a buyer, when you say silent, it means many things. And the buyer, if we see the silent signal from the buyer, they worry. They don't know what is the result of negotiation. So this share with you some tactics to exchange information during the negotiation. Now, body language, what we say, how we say it, and how we appear to the other party. That's important in the tactics of negotiation. Because we have to maximize all the body language that we can have to come to the negotiation. Remember, we classify how important with the supplier depend on the quadrant. We classify upfront, and we define the strategy that we are going to talk, we are going to meet, what we are going to talk, how we are going to say it, and what is our appearance in front of the other party. And body language is very important in negotiation. Now, okay, if we come to the negotiation meeting, it's important to use persuasion techniques. Persuasion techniques means that we have to share the emotion. Okay, we have to Then the logic, we have to bargain. We have to compromise, and sometimes, and we show some threat to the buyer, to the supplier, to the seller. Okay, so all of those, we call that persuasion techniques during the negotiation. Emotion, logic, bargaining, compromise, and threat. Those are the techniques. Now, emotion, what does it mean? We share the emotion and we making the other party understand your feeling of the issue. Remember, we come to the negotiation because we have an issue to be solved. Either issue could be pricing, either issue could be scheduling, either issue could be quality, etc. So with emotion that we share the other party to understand your feeling about the issue. And the emotion can counter the logic. Emotion can be used to increase the value of something, and exaggerate emotion can have opposite effect. Remember. Logic, using the rational argument based on the fact and figure. Okay, when we share the logic with the supplier, we use logic and we use figure. We don't use judgment. We don't use assumption. Okay. We share the emotion. We talk about the logic and we use that to bargain. The trading of variable if then. Try to give away things that are less valuable to what you get in return. So bargaining. We are trying to analyze, we try to bargain the things. After we share the emotion, we said about the logic, then we begin and we come to a compromise. Okay, agree to meet somewhere in between. 50-50 is not the only compromise. A compromise tend to favor the one who take the most extreme position. And at the end, we also use some threats to our supplier. We suggest the consequence of complying with your demand. We use it. We use indirect rather than direct threat, and we threaten only at the business level. We don't talk about something funny, okay? We set the supplier that we can walk away. We can buy things from the other supplier. We threaten at the business level, okay? That is the techniques that we use during the negotiation. Emotion, logic, bargaining, compromise, and threat. Be prepared to vary persuasion techniques, and remember that persuasion technique is not an objective in itself, and remain creative and flexible. Any questions so far for persuasion technique? If not, and then we go to the step 3. Step 3 is opening and making the deal. There are many ways, assuming that you are in the negotiation meeting, okay? After we try to understand, we share our emotion. We talk about the logic. We talk about we talk about bargaining, and we come to the compromise, and then we talk about the threat. However, opening and making the deal is another tactic of the step 3 in the persuasion technique. How to, okay? Can we make that? At a certain signal sentence, such as we often allow a late payment, we cannot meet your requirement, your time frame is quite hard, etc. So this gives you some example for opening and making the deal. Making a question to clarify, reconfirm signal to encourage the opponent to cooperate, present the proposal using if-then clause solution, set the priority, etc. Or receiving the opponent proposal, anti-proposal, a patient, no, do not deliver anti-proposal right away. Make a question, emphasize agreement, not on concern point, how to concession bargain. So opening and making the deal is a step in the negotiation process. Okay. Open it. The one who open it can have the other side no counter offer. So opening and making the deal, after we come to the agreement, so we have to get the alignment at the end. So the negotiation, like I said, is successful when two parties can come to the agreement. The stage of negotiation meeting. Normally, it starts with the opening stage, and then the testing stage, and the proposal stage, and bargaining stage, and at the end, the agreement stage. This is the state of the negotiation meeting. It helps you to go through the process, okay? We start, how we test the understanding from both sides, how to propose your proposal, and then get the counter of proposal from the other side, and how can you bargain to get the best deal at the end, and what is the agreement state. Okay. Then you can compare the opening stage. This gives you some guideline from what you should do and what you don't do it in order to come to the good negotiation meeting. Don't try to demand too much, okay? Don't demanding. Don't put down any condition, okay? Opening state, we don't give the condition first. Try to refer the contract with other supplier to other negotiation that you have undertaking, making the other side feel uneasy. Start substantive discussion before agreement on the agenda. So this gives you something that you don't do during the opening stage. What you should do is, if you are the hosting, You welcome and you show the respect and interest of the supplier. You ensure that refreshments are at hand. You make purposeful small talk and find out how about them as people. Check their authority to negotiate. Be warm as a person, but be firm on the issue and agree on the agenda and expected outcome and time scale. When do you do negotiation? You should negotiate with the one who make the decision, okay? Try to reach out the decision maker for the final negotiation. And I understand if you are small and you are the new buyer, unexperienced buyer, don't worry. This is a step to learn along the way, okay? And sometimes you are unable to reach out the decision maker, but you be aware that who are you talking to? The next stage is the testing stage. Testing stage is trying to understand, check your assumption and their perception, guess missing information, explore the topics in common ground. You understand yourself and you understand the other side also. You explore the underlying need and interest. What is the capability and what is their motivation? Ask why, what, how, clarify the perception and listen attentively. Show the respect, show the concern for their need and interest, and don't make any firm proposal. So this is the stage that you are trying to understand yourself. Of course, you understand it from the preparation, but you are trying to understand the other side and asking clarification. And when you are the same thing, don't forget the other side, they are doing the same thing with you, okay? They are also in the negotiation meeting. And these things that they went through and they prepare and they, you know, they are doing the same job as negotiator when they come to the negotiation meeting. Any questions so far for the testing stage? Okay, if not, then we taking a break from here, about 10-minute break before we come back. Okay. Okay, take 10-minute break. We will come back at 10 to 10. Okay, at 10. Okay. Mm. Hello. Okay, let's start again. Okay, can you hear me? Excuse me, can you hear me? After we opening the state, after we testing the state, we understand from outside and the other side, and then we make the proposal stage. In the proposal stage, try to get them to propose first, okay? In the negotiation, who say first, it have less power, okay? For the supplier, as a buyer, we had the right to ask them for proposal. Try to get them to propose first, okay? And from their proposal, we have used the hypothetical question. What if? What if? What can we do with that? Don't jump to conclusion. Don't jump to any conclusion at the very beginning. So listen to them carefully, listen to them actively, and to clarify the understanding. Okay? Summarize often. Link variable build on ideas. Take notes. Reset if needed. Don't reject the proposal instantly. We ask them, remember, we ask them to propose, but don't reject their proposal instantly. Don't immediately make a counter proposal. Don't use irritating phrase. So this is an art of negotiation. When we come to the negotiation, we are trying to get the maximum information from the other side. Okay? Make them feel easy. Make them feel easy in the negotiation meeting with us. Show the respect to the other party, taking notes, asking clarification question, blah, blah, blah. Give them the priority in the negotiation meeting, but don't immediately using the counter offer or using any irritating phrase in the proposal stage. Then we come to the bargaining stage. Bargaining stage, we are trying, remember, we are trying to bargain somewhere here. So we have ZOBA, we have buyer, we have seller, we have ZOBA, zone of negotiation, okay? So trying to bargain, and this is in the bargaining stage. Bargaining stage, try to attach condition to concession. Try to attach condition to concession. And try to give away variable which are worth more to them than to you. Something, there's some variable. It meaningless to you, but meaningful to them. So trying to give away. Try to link the variable of both parties and make the numerous small concession rather than to major one. Small concession. And don't get caught by new issue. Try to focus on the issue that you identify and you are working on. Don't get caught by the small incoming new issue. And don't try to make unplanned concession. Don't lose sight in your objective. So when we come to the negotiation meeting, we are very clear about the goal that we want to aim. Okay, don't lose sight of that. We know the end goal that we are going to achieve and try to focus on that. The art question in the negotiation, there are an art, and there are many art of asking questions. Always ask open question for them to give the proposal. Open question. Try to try to avoid closed question, meaning that yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Okay? Open question is we are asking the question that they can explore the answer. Probing question, multiple question, leading question, reflective question, and hypothetical question. So because the reason of asking question that can give you opportunity to understand more from the other side. We asking them an open question, give them the opportunity, they can explore the answer for them to understanding more. Try to explore the opportunity. Step 4, closing techniques. After we set step 1, step 2, step 3, and now we come to step 4. Step 4 is closing. Okay. Any negotiation, it comes to an end. Okay. Summary close. Outline the current position on the question. So after the negotiation, after we are asking question, we are exploring opportunity, it comes to the outline of the current position. Narrow down what is the option that we are going to offer, okay? And what are the difference in perception? And then we confirm the agreement. So the agreement, it is here. That is the common. Okay. So we have outlined what our side, what the other side. We summarize on the issue, and then we know what are the difference in perception, and then we come to the own agreement. Step 4, on the negotiation meeting, it comes to the closing end. And what are they? It depends on the negotiation, depend on what we can reach, the agreement that we can reach out, and then what are the summary. At the agreement stage, this is what we should do. We should do is we watch for the closing signal, okay? So during the negotiation, we always watch for the closing signal. We make sure that all the issues have been resolved. Sometimes it's not everything was resolved, but what are the issues have been resolved. And then we watch for the other side doesn't reopen the negotiation issue. We see if any opportunity that we can meet again, or we ask for a joint closing summary to finalize the agreement. Sometimes we have to compromise. Okay? And we get an agreement in principle if they don't have the final authority at the end of the meeting. And we use visual aid to summarize. We specify responsibility to any follow-up meeting and to offer to prepare an agreement document. Meaning that at the agreement stage, this is the summary that we should do at the end of any negotiation meeting. What we should not do, or we don't do it, is to fraud an agreement by making a final offer. No one can make a final offer from a meeting unless they get the final authority to agree on. Phone for the quick deal or tactic, splitting the difference and give or ask or additional concession. Tell them what good deal could have had if only they have done something differently. So in the agreement state of any negotiation meeting, this is what we should do and what we should not do, or we don't do it. If the people who come to the agreement, to the negotiation is not the final decision maker, then it's important to keep note, to summarize what have been resolved so far. And we know that don't have to get the final authorization before confirm the final acceptance or not. See? This is the final pre-contract stage negotiation and post-contract negotiation. And this is the negotiation agreement that we have. This slide shows you the successful negotiation when we come to the agreement, both contract and free contract stage negotiation. Any questions so far? If not, then I will take a few minutes just to quickly go to the registration today. Anyone who in the class, just say yes. So I quickly go through the list. Okay. Nguyễn Hoàng Thảo An.
Hoàng Thị Thảo An cô.
Hoàng Thị Thảo An, xin lỗi em.
Dạ.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Nguyễn Thị Thu An. Nguyễn Thị Thu An. Okay. Đào Nguyễn Tuấn Anh.
Dạ có cô.
Yes. Lương Phương Anh.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Nguyễn Tuấn Anh.
Yes.
Yes. Võ Ngọc Kim Châu.
Yes.
Thank you. Nguyễn Thụy Hạnh Duyên. Phạm Huỳnh Thùy Dương.
Cô ơi, em là Nguyễn Thùy Hạnh Duyên á cô.
Thank you. Phạm Huỳnh Thùy Dương. Vũ Minh Đức. Vũ Trường Giang.
Yes. Vũ Trường Giang.
Thank you. Trần Thanh Hải.
Yes.
Lâm Ngọc Hân. Ngô Văn Hiếu.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Trần Minh Hoàng.
Yes, teacher.
Nguyễn Tấn Huy. Trần Võ Khánh Huyền.
Yes.
Thank you. Trần Bảo Hưng.
Yes.
Lê Nguyễn Quỳnh Hương.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Võ Thị Thanh Hương.
Yes.
Đỗ Quốc Khánh. Lê Đình Khánh. Nguyễn Thị Bảo Khánh.
Yes.
Thank you. Nguyễn Cát Ngọc Khê.
Yes.
Nguyễn Đăng Khoa. Đặng Ngọc Thiên Kim.
Yes.
Đào Duy Lâm.
Dạ có.
Tất Kháng Lâm.
Yes.
Nguyễn Võ Khánh Linh. Trần Hưng Hải Long. Lê Thanh Mai. Trần Duy Minh. Phan Đình Nam.
Yes.
Phan Đình Nam.
Yes.
Trần Hoài Nam. Nguyễn Hiền Đông Nghi.
Yes.
Phạm Thị Kim Ngọc.
Yes.
Dương Ngọc Uyển Nhi. Nguyễn Thị Quỳnh Như.
Yes.
Nguyễn Vũ Quỳnh Như.
Yes.
Phan Thị Kim Oanh.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Hồ Thanh Phúc. Hồ Lê Minh Phương.
Yes, teacher.
Lê Hồng Quân. Xin lỗi, Hồ Thanh Phúc có không ạ? Rồi, Hồ Lê Thanh Phương, Lê Hồng Quân. Nguyễn Đình Minh Quân. Thank you. Lê Thúy Quỳnh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Công Sơn. Trịnh Thành Tâm.
Yes.
Vũ Mai Quốc Thái.
Yes, teacher.
Nguyễn Mai Thanh.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Hồ Thị Thu Thảo.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Hồ Ca Thi. Nguyễn Đức Thịnh. Đặng Tấn Thọ. Bùi Nguyễn Thiên Thu.
Yes, teacher. Yes.
Phạm Vũ Ngọc Thuận. Vũ Minh Thùy.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Trần Nguyễn Anh Thư.
Yes, teacher.
Phạm Xuân Thi.
Yes.
Ok, thank you. Phạm Đình Loan Thi.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Ngô Thí Thùy Trang.
Dạ có.
Ngô Thị Thùy Trang.
Dạ có.
Dạ. Nguyễn Huyền Trang.
Dạ có.
Thank you. Tạ Phạm Thùy Trang.
Dạ có.
Trương Thiên Trang. Nguyễn Huỳnh Minh Trí. Phạm Khôi Trung. Nguyễn Khương Sơn Tùng.
Yes.
Thank you. Hoàng Gia Nguyên.
Yes.
Trần Anh Việt, Hán Minh Vi,
Yes.
Trần Hoàng Hải Yến.
Yes.
Sorry, teacher. I am Vũ Minh Đức. I don't know. Did you check my attendance?
You are not here. Vũ Minh Đức, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Teacher,
Now,
I'm Ngọc Thuận. I'm sorry for going to the toilet while you are checking attendance.
yeah, never mind. Tell me your name.
My name is Phạm Vũ Ngọc Thuận.
Can you speak louder, please?
Phạm Vũ Ngọc Thuận.
Phạm Vũ Ngọc Thuận. Phạm Vũ Ngọc Thuận. Yes. Thank you. You are there.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Anyone who is mixing?
Yes, please. Actually, I'm from Thursday class, but I'm joining this class today. Can you check my attendance on Thursday list?
Tell me later on, okay? I have here only the class on Thursday list. What's your name, please?
My name is Hoàng Châu.
Hoàng Châu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trần Thị Hoàng Châu.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I book your class, Trần Thị Hoàng Châu. Okay, thank you. Anyone is mixing?
Cô ơi, bạn em bị văng ra khỏi lớp mà cô chưa accept lại bạn em vô không được đó cô.
Bạn nào?
Dạ Dương Ngọc Uyển Nhi ạ.
Dương Ngọc Diễm Nhi.
Uyển Nhi.
Dương Ngọc Uyển Nhi rồi, yes. Yeah, Dương Ngọc Uyển Nhi is your name?
Dạ bạn em vô lớp không được, cô accept cho bạn em vô lại, tại nãy bạn bị văng ra ngoài đó cô.
Ok, Dương Ngọc Uyển Nhi, Hoài Nam và Lê Thanh Mai. I'm adding. Hoàng Nam, Hoài Nam, Trần Hoài Nam. Trần Hoài Nam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Who is missing?
Dạ cô ơi, em là Uyển Nhi á cô.
Dương Ngọc Uyển Nhi. Đúng
dạ.
Rồi. Ok, cảm ơn em.
Dạ em cảm ơn.
Ok. Who else?
Cô em là Thanh Mai cô.
Tên gì ạ?
Dạ Lê Thanh Mai.
Lê Thanh Mai, missing still. Ok.
Cô ơi, bạn của em tên là Thu An á cô. Bạn cũng bị văng ra nhưng mà hiện tại giờ cô chưa có cho vô lại á. Thì cô check giùm cho bạn của em với nha cô.
Rồi, ok.
Bạn tên là Thu An ạ. Thu An ạ.
Nguyễn Thị Thu An, đúng rồi.
Dạ.
Missing. Who else? Trương Thiên Trang. Trương Thiên Trang. Đó. Oh, missing. Trương Thiên Trang. Is okay?
Dạ cô, bạn Trương Thiên Giang có học á mà không biết sao bạn nói không ai gì hết cô.
Rồi, ok, bạn đưa ra đúng không ạ? Bây giờ bạn cô
Dạ bạn Trương Thiên Trang với bạn Hồ Ca Thi cô.
Dạ, Hồ Ca Thi đúng không ạ?
Dạ đúng rồi.
Hồ Ca Thi. Wait. Hồ Ca Thi. Rồi, đang missing. Adding rồi. Dạ. Bạn thứ hai là bạn gì? Trương Thiên Trang đúng không ạ?
Dạ Trương Thiên Trang ạ.
Trương Thiên Trang của Hồ Ca Thi đúng không em?
Dạ đúng không cô?
Ok, cảm ơn em.
Dạ, cảm ơn cô.
Who is mixing? Ok.
Dạ, còn bạn Khánh với cô Lê Đình Khánh cũng bị trường hợp tương tự giống bạn Thi.
Lê Đình Khánh. Ok, missing still. Ok, ai ở đây này? Lê Đình Khánh. Who else? Trần Duy Minh. Trần Duy Minh, Trần Duy Minh. Wow, Trần Duy Minh. Trần Duy Minh still missing editing. Okay, done. Trần Duy Minh. Who else? Because you know that this attending list we do once in a while, but this is maintaining as a record. Okay, for your attendance. The lesson today mainly is about the supplier selection and negotiation. But supplier selection, we talked about last week and we talk about this week again, how you select the supplier. Very transparent, the scope of work, the criteria, the weighting factor, that can be done easily. But the skill for you as a negotiation, the skill for you as the buyer in the organization, a negotiation skill. And negotiation skill, it is not just by born. You have to learn it and you have to put it into practice, the step of negotiation, if you want to be successful. Okay, you have to do the preparation. You have to understand from your side, what is your corporate objective, functional objective, and the individual objective. Okay, you have to do when you come to the negotiation, you have to start from opening state. You start from asking question. You start from testing state, and you start from proposal to start bargaining, become to the agreement. So the state of negotiation meeting is go to from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Agreement is the final successful negotiation. And in order to define the successful, you have to have a partner. You have to have the alternative. If you come up with several suppliers, then you have the power of negotiation in more. And depends on the importance of the supplier to your business, you define them with belong to which quadrant in the supplier positioning model. Each quadrant of supply positioning model, you have different strategy for relationship. Okay. And negotiation meeting, it requires a lot of art. We call that art, negotiation tactics. Okay, how you make it easy for a negotiation, how you explore the opportunity, you ask for open question, etc. Okay. At the end of the day, at the end of negotiation, you come to agreement and forget to capture it in the summary note. And sometimes we have to come back. We have to come back with the next meeting for a next negotiation meeting. Sometimes in some negotiation, it have to go through the second round, third round, final round of negotiation to come to agreement. Some agreement is not easy to get on. So that's why at the end of the day, you have to close the meeting by a summary. And remember, do and don't do, that is some guidance based on experience. They can give it to you as a summary. It's not all correct in your specific situation, but it is good guidance for you during the negotiation. at the end of the day, you have to reach out here. Sometimes you have to walk away. This make-up give you some tactics of a body language that you understand when we do the negotiation meeting. Okay, show it. Body language must be used as a supporting information, not as the main reason to make a decision in negotiation. Because some people are not well trained in negotiation and they can act very well. Give you some, some kind of body language, sometimes how close it, acceptable distance, too close, or acceptable distance, urban or rural, etc. This can give you some reading more for understanding. Okay? The body language is important, but it can be used as additional information. It cannot be used as a final decision maker. Okay. Any question for today?
Cô ơi.
Yes.
Bạn em là Trần Hưng Hải Long với là Nguyễn Đăng Khoa mà hai bạn nó không vào được lớp điểm danh được ạ.
Không biết tại sao ạ?
Bị mất mạng, bạn bị đá ra khỏi lớp không?
Khổ chưa? Tên gì không?
Dạ, Nguyễn Đăng Khoa với Trần Hưng Hải Long ạ.
Trần Hưng Hải Long và Nguyễn Đăng Khoa. Ok.
Dạ, em cảm ơn cô.
Already add on. Ok.
Cô ơi, cho em hỏi thêm cái nữa với.
Yes.
Về cả kỳ project á cô.
Yes.
Cô có thể nói qua một chút về cái project bọn em phải làm được không? Tại vì sợ chuẩn bị tới deadline đó.
Em có tham gia học mấy lớp trước không? Mấy tuần trước không? Nhóm của em là nhóm số mấy?
Nhóm 16 ạ.
Nhóm 16. Nếu mà em không có đi học thì em sẽ hỏi riêng và tôi sẽ nói lại riêng thôi. Tại vì tôi không muốn mất thời gian của nhiều người.
Dạ được ạ. Em cảm ơn.
Ok. Nhóm của em là gồm có những ai? Nhóm thứ 16 là gồm có những ai ạ?
Nếu thế, tại em mình chỉ nói mấy bạn đó, nếu thế em hỏi lại mấy bạn được.
Vâng. Nếu mà em phải làm việc cùng nhóm với nhau. Cái mục đích của Semester Project là để cho các em làm việc theo nhóm. Ok. Làm việc theo nhóm để mà phân biệt ra là trách nhiệm của mỗi người tới đâu và làm những gì, và có những người những cái gì mà mình không hỏi. Em treat mỗi người trong nhóm em như là mỗi người họ có một cái role nhất định. Ok. Và nếu mà em là nhóm 16 thì em làm việc trong nhóm em, và nếu mà nhóm em mà không ai hiểu nữa thì quay lại cô. Okay.
Dạ em cảm ơn ạ.
Em tên gì ạ? Em tên gì ạ?
Dạ Trần Bảo Hưng ạ.
Trần Bảo Hưng. Xin lỗi, Trần Bảo Hưng có đây rồi. Vâng. Nhóm 16 à. Nhé. Hưng hỏi các bạn nhóm 16 của mình như thế nào nhé. Ok, có bạn nào có câu hỏi gì nữa không ạ?
Dạ, cô cho em hỏi ạ.
Yes, em tên gì em ạ?
Dạ, em tên Văn Hiếu.
Em tên là Văn Hiếu. Rồi, thì trước em cũng có hỏi đúng không ạ?
Dạ, đúng rồi cô.
Rồi, em tiếp tục đi em.
Dạ, cho em hỏi là hạn chót khi nào mình có thể nộp report vậy cô?
Lúc này có nói rồi đó, nhưng mà không biết là các em có nghĩa là một tuần trước khi mà em tham dự cái bài thi final. Deadline là một tuần trước khi dự bài thi final. Còn cái ngày nào là cái ngày thi final thì tới giờ này cô vẫn chưa có cái lịch của bên khoa. Nhưng mà theo như mà cô hiểu approximately á, thì nó vào đâu khoảng từ cuối tháng 6, tuần cuối của tháng 6. Thì có lẽ vào giữa tháng 6 các em phải nộp rồi. Tuy nhiên cô sẽ confirm it trên Blackboard cái ngày cụ thể của cái ngày deadline á, là cái nhất ha. Cái thứ hai nữa là tất cả mọi người đều presentation, tất cả các group đều presentation hay không, thì cái đó cô sẽ trao đổi với thầy Hợp. Tại vì mình có rất là nhiều group mà mình không có nhiều thời gian để mà tất cả các group đều present với nhau. Thành ra là cái phần submission là cái phần cơ bản, còn cái presentation thì đợi cô lấy ý kiến, cô cùng tham gia ý kiến với thầy Hợp, xong rồi cô sẽ có cái quyết định là tất cả các nhóm đều phải present hay là chọn một bốc thăm randomly nhóm phải present. Thế còn cái submission là cái the must, và submission cố gắng đúng cái deadline. Cái deadline là chừng nào thì cô sẽ thông báo chính thức các em trên Blackboard. Ok.
Dạ em cảm ơn cô.
Rồi các bạn rõ hết chưa ạ? Nếu không còn câu hỏi gì nữa thì cô xin kết thúc cái bài học hôm nay và cô cảm ơn tất cả các em nhé. Ok, thank you.